Okay, well, I don't know even where this thing is. Hopefully it's set up. Anyway, yeah, I just uploaded a video, the first part one, and yeah, it cut off. So I was talking about Elizabeth and how we're all in the same motel. At one point, I took a table outside, and I think I made a dinner, and I bought like a linen tablecloth. You know, she was French. I wanted to kind of spoil her, and she had one glass of wine with dinner. Like, she also arranged my birthday party after having done A River Runs Through It in June of '96, I guess. Um, she invited people and arranged my birthday party, but I never ever saw her have more than really like a glass of wine. I remember in one instance, I was crossing the street. There was a shopping, like a grocery store, a large grocery store across the street from the motel. And as I'm crossing the street, she takes my arm. And I look at her and I'm like, Elizabeth, like, we're in Livingston, Montana. There's not a car in sight. Like, you don't have to worry. Plus, she always, I don't know if I mentioned this in part one, she always showed up on movie sets that she'd cast to make sure everyone was getting along and doing their jobs. Casting directors, I never met another casting director like that. When she cast Dances with Wolves, apparently she'd show up and with the Aboriginal, the native guys, she'd go to their motel or whatever, hotel rooms, and she would, make sure they had the dialect down. It was Navajo or Sioux or whatever it was, but she wanted to make sure that they were going to be authentic and had the right dialect. Like, casting directors were never that thorough. So, long story short, because I'm afraid this fucking thing's going to run out on me again or just stop working. What happens is October 95, all hell breaks loose. My 4-year-old son is threatened to be hurt if he talks to me. I called everybody, including Elizabeth Lustig, and I said, I don't know what the hell's going on. But my wife is involved in something. My kids have been threatened. Like, please help me, right? She'd left me a message. I got thrown into, thank you, Lisa Kirk, you bitch. I got thrown into a film, never reading a script, no negotiation, more money than was my regular, amount. They forced me to do this film in France. I get to France and I find out, oh great, I'm playing a child trafficker with a yacht, which is what my ex-wife was involved with, yachts. Not only that, I have to speak French, and at that point in time, I didn't speak any French. So I have to speak French. I've never been treated as crappy as I was by this Fred Gerber goof. I think he was a Scientologist, but I'd never been treated that poorly. I was gaslit that whole time on that film. I moved out of the hotel because of a harassment, noise harassment, all this weird phone calls, middle of the night. Like, I moved out of the hotel and I moved onto a yacht where we'd filmed. Well, on that yacht, I'd wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning with like footsteps running across the deck, walkie-talkies going off, like a SWAT team's running across my deck. When I tried to complain, you crazy man. I had the only key to the safety box supposedly on the yacht, and I go to work, I come back, I go in my safety box, there's a little chicken scratch note from obviously a child. You crazy man. But it was non-stop, this kind of harassment while I'm trying to do the film. How I ever got through it, honestly, I don't know. But, so I fly from France, I go to Paris, I talk to the manager of the hotel where my wife had worked. He tells me she slept with Arab men for money and jewelry. And it was like a 5-star or 4-star hotel right off the Champs-Elysees, right where all the Middle Eastern embassies were. And I'm like, wow, okay, so that confirms what she told me, which is she was a prostitute. I fly to New York. I don't go back to the farm because honestly, I don't know what I'm dealing with, man. This is a personality I've never seen in her. Like, all of a sudden, these personalities start jumping out at me. So I get to New York, and I think I'd called Elizabeth from France. Anyway, I get a message. I had a phone message machine where I could dial in for my messages. I had a message from Elizabeth Lustig, something to the effect, come to LA, I want to see you in person, and I've got something I need to tell you, but I can't do it over the phone or whatever it was. So of course, I go to LA. And I phoned her casting director office, and she's out of town for a day or two. And then I met with this guy, Jack Healy, who I'd done a benefit for. He used to run Amnesty, and he was promoting Eleanor Roosevelt's Declaration of Human Rights. Isn't that a joke, huh? Declaration of Human Rights. And what have I had for 24 and a half years? Complete violation of all my human rights. I'd phoned my partner in Lionsgate also because he was a lawyer. Oh, he can't help me. It was just endless. Anyway, so I try to get Elizabeth. I can't reach her. And then I think to work off steam, I'd gone to a gym one day. And I used the payphone to check my messages because I could phone in for my messages. And there's a message from an agent at APA. Now, I had been an actor at APA. They were my agents. But Doug Warner was my agent. This female agent was never my agent. But she'd left me a message to call her. It was really important. So I call her. She goes, I've got bad news. I'm like, what? What's it about? She goes, it's Elizabeth Lustig. I'm like, okay, the one person I'm out here trying to see. I didn't say that, but I'm thinking that. And then she says, Elizabeth is dead. This thing has escalated. And now Elizabeth is dead before I get a chance to talk to her. And I ask what happened? Oh, well, she was, she was in the street in Moscow and she got hit by a car because she'd cast the saint, and I guess she got an emergency call to go to Moscow. I'm thinking that they probably planned to get her out of the country, and like honestly, man, these people are ruthless. Whoever the hell they are, whatever this is about, I don't know. And I asked the woman, did they get the driver? Oh, no. And now it's 24 and a half years later. They never got the driver that hit Elizabeth Lustig. But some people have claimed that she was drunk and she wandered out on the street. No. Absolutely not, man. I knew Elizabeth. She was so far from being a drunk. I mean, it's ridiculous. She'd maybe have a glass of wine. Maybe. At dinner. That's it. I never saw her drunk. I never saw her overindulge at all. Anyway, trying to think, did I get everything out? So I'm making this video on behalf of Elizabeth Lustig, someone I've wanted to speak about. I didn't want to offend any family or friends of hers in case they did see this. But you know what? After all these years, man, I gotta say what my truth is or what and I'm not saying I absolutely know that she was murdered. I don't know that. Like, I don't have any absolute on that, but you got to admit, given my life for the following, 24 years, her having something to tell me, I get out there, and there's a lot more. She came to stay with us on the farm. My ex-wife, who was the most uncaring person I know, suddenly insisted on driving her to the airport when Elizabeth had tried to tell me something. Florence showed up, and then Elizabeth completely clammed up. And then the next day she said, I'm leaving. I'm like, but Elizabeth, I thought you were going to spend a couple of days. No, no. Oh, no, I have to go. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll drive you